one is resistance to premature closure. Resistance to premature closure is a person who is very open-minded, who thinks that there's no end to thinking. There's no end to thinking. In other words, let's say when you're given a parallel line like this, okay, when given a parallel line like this, oftentimes people just draw like that and close. They close the whole picture. You know what this is called closure? They have no resistance. They have no resistance to premature closure. Whereas a person who is very resistant to premature closure, who wants to leave things open, normally go beyond that, you know, and then draw pictures, something like that, with windows, you know. So they never close the picture. That means their ideas are, they want to add some more, some more. So they resist closure. Creative people always resist closure. They don't want to close because they know they can come up with some more ideas. Creative people don't jump to conclusion. You know, like this one jump to conclusion already. House, finished story. I don't have to think about it anymore. You know what I'm saying? This one, I can create a hotel, I can make it into a big apartment, I can blah 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 blah. You know what I mean? A creative person wants to have a possibility. I want more possibilities. I don't want like that. I can go here, I can go there, I can go, I want flexibility. So that is what we mean by, what do you mean by that? Resistance to premature closure. So creative people, creative lecturers, they're always open. Okay? They don't say, this topic can only teach this way. Cannot teach any other way. That means they close already. You know what I mean? They close, the mind is closed already. Cannot change that. Whereas a creative lecturer is open-minded. Okay, yeah, that way can. Oh yes, can be done. Or my method, I can even make it better. Another way, add in some more technology or whatever it is. Make it more brainstorming, more group work, more presentation, more outdoor activity, more interviews. Add on. You know what I'm saying? So they make it open. So that is another example of creative teachers who make it, who are not close-minded, open-minded. Yeah. So they resist closure. Okay. Now let's move on. Emotional expressiveness. Teaching is not like standing in front here. Okay, everybody, open your books. Okay. Now try question number 1. No emotion. You know what I mean? Whereas a creative teacher is a person who performs. He's an actor or actress. A creative person is an actor or actress in class. You know what I mean? The facial expression, the emotion, the intonation, you know, sad, and then ha. But emotion in the class. You know what I mean? And then stir the students' emotion. Show a picture, just to get them to think, you know. Show a picture of a very badly kept street, very full of dirt, bottles here, tin cans everywhere, and then emotion, huh? They start thinking. Correct? So your class, can you create some kind of emotion in your class? And emotion is powerful. People remember emotion. Huh? If you just stand, okay, there are 4 components of creativity: originality, flexibility. You know what I mean? No emotion. You get what I mean? But the moment you say and give examples and you're an actor, so you must show your acting skills. Okay, so a teacher must be a performer. So those who cannot become actor or actress become teacher. So you can act in the class. Okay. So in other words, emotional expressiveness. Oh, I'm not sure that. Okay. Emotional expressiveness is very important. Yeah. As a creative teacher, you must bring emotion inside the class because emotion is another way of learning and remembering. Students remember better when they have an emotional attachment to the learning. Instead of too dry. You know, dry class. Okay, I just learned to start to pass my exam. You know. Okay, so that's what I do. Okay, anyway, go back to some more. What else I have? Another aspect of teacher, creative teacher. Okay, I'm already going into merging creativity with creative teaching already. Storytelling articulateness. Okay, whose diagram, whose drawing just now? You are telling a story. That's another one. Whose parallel lines activity? You are actually telling a story. Once, this is Thomas' example. He gave an activity, okay, parallelized activity, and okay, let's say they have how many altogether? 16, right? Okay, 16. So when he gave this one, 16 lines, this standard instruction, everybody, okay, make use of parallelized, think of something different. 1 until 16, okay? So what is this student, even though the instruction is still the same, the student started telling a story. This is the beginning of the story. And then blah, 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 ending of the story here. All connected. I don't know exactly what example it was, but he started off something like a cartoon, you follow through, and then you can see that this is the end of the story, like a movie. Finish. See, storytelling, articulateness. So the ability to tell a story. Anybody connected the pictures? At least one or two. Anybody got connection? In your drawing, you didn't have any connection. Like this one should flow to this one flow to this one. If you had, then you have that storytelling articulateness. Anyway. So if you keep, try and see, when you have free time in your classroom, try an activity like this, and you see which of your students is very creative. They tell a story. They go beyond what you say. They go beyond what you ask them to do. You know what I'm saying? That's called storytelling articles. And you get extra mark for this kind of parallelized example. Right? There are some who show movement and action. They show movement and action. That means, let's say they draw, let's see, one more time. Okay, let's say they draw a stick man. Okay, then they show the hand, something like that. I'm not good at drawing. Or the head moving like that. They're drawing kind of movement, So this is called story, a movement or action. Anybody below got movement or not? In your drawing? Anybody has movement? So another example of creating people, they never think of it as stating thing, all moving, things moving. Okay? Movement or action, yeah? And then expressiveness, the title. The title is very expressive. There's no abstractions. This one expressiveness, meaning express emotion. Expressiveness of title meaning what? Express the emotion of it. Example, expression of a title. Let's say they draw a dead person, maybe using the paradigm, and then they say sad ending. The title, on the paradigm, so the title is very expressive of what's happening. emotion. Emotion. So, expressiveness of titles. Synthesis of ideas. This is another important criteria. In fact, very important for researching skills. Those who came from my ISI publication workshop. Okay? Synthesis of ideas is when you synthesize ideas from many different studies. Same thing for this one. They synthesize ideas. Let's say, for example, they use the handphone. Okay, they draw a handphone, and then at the same time, the handphone they add another idea to the handphone, like watching it as a TV, using it as a TV or what else. New applications of handphone other than camera, tape recorder. Okay, can watch, of course, you can watch TV, so on and so forth. So they add synthesis of ideas to the thing. Okay, the other one is unusual visualization. It's another creative aspect of creativity. Okay, that means they example. This is very creative. I'm going to ask you this question. This student, when given the parallel line, must wait. Oh, wait for a while. Okay. Learning how to use the solid projector. One more time. Okay, next time let me know. Press. Oh, press 2 times. Okay, this student was given a parallel line, right? Sure, new one. Okay, was given a parallel line. Okay, example of a parallel line. Okay, and then drew this one. Question is what it is. Somebody's hiding is one possibility. Hiding behind the tree. Huh? What is it? Warm. Warm. Worm. The worm wing. The worm. That's the name of the worm. Sky. Ski. Oh, ski. You see the ski from the bottom. Maybe? You don't need the ski. I really want to answer. Okay. And he said this is a bear climbing up a tree. A bear climbing up a tree. You see, unusual visualization. Okay. So this is an example. Yeah. So a lot of students, they don't see the way we see. Children, they don't see the way we see. They see something else. Yeah. Unusual visualizations. Anybody drew anything unusual in your parallel lines? Check and see. Unusual. Not ordinary angle. The drawing is not ordinary angle. Anybody? Unusual visualization. Why? We call them as having spatial intelligence. You know how Gardner's spatial intelligence. Spatial means they can imagine how it will look like from a different angle. Space. If you see this one, can I test your spatial intelligence? Okay, you want to test your spatial intelligence, right? Okay, very good. Okay, very good. I use this in my creativity workshop. Okay, this one. This is what we call a solid projector, or overhead projector, right? Okay. Can this be turned? Okay, never mind. No need to turn. You all know how it looks like. I can turn this to this way, right? Okay, never mind. You all can see this, right? Okay. Take out a piece of paper, very fast. A4 paper, do you have A4 paper? Yes, you have. I use this in my workshop to test your visualization. Unusual visualization. Okay, cut the paper into two. Fold your paper into half. Fold your paper into half. A very big one because I didn't plan this. Spontaneous. I didn't plan it. Very spontaneous. I didn't plan. Okay, tie it up. Tie it into two. Tie. Okay. Okay. Are you ready now? All ready? Use only one now. Only one piece. Keep the other piece aside. Okay. Use only one piece. Half of it. Okay. Only one piece. Okay. Everybody can see this overhead projector. Okay. Draw this from where you are seeing it. From the angle you are looking at this one. Just draw. Not to be like a Picasso. Not need to be very talented and artist. Just draw a rough structure. How does it look like? How does it look to you now? This one, this overhead projector. But you can just try this in your classroom. I remember all this that you've learned. Try this in your classroom to make your class more enjoyable, more fun. Draw this. Only this one. Don't draw me. Don't draw me. Only the overhead protector, only the table. Not it be very beautiful, just the rough structure. As long as the size this one is smaller than this one. And shape. Do you want the shape? Done? Okay. Now, right on top of your picture, above your drawing, the word T-O-P, top. This is the top part. T-T-T-O-P, top. Right on top of your picture. That is, on top of your picture, you draw. Write the word top. T-O-P. So to show that it's the top of your picture. Okay, just write the word top. Are you done? No need to be very detailed. Just ordinary man's drawing, a woman's drawing. Okay. Now, after you're done, hide it under your nose. Cannot see it. Hide it. You cannot see it anymore. Hide it under your nose. Okay? When you're done, hide it somewhere. Take the other piece. The other piece that you tore off just now, empty one. Take the other piece. Okay. Are you ready for second part? Okay. Listen carefully. Instruction. Okay. Now, you're supposed to draw this overhead projector again, but this time, draw it upside down. Without turning your head. Your head must be always straight. Without turning your head, okay, you must now imagine how this one will look like upside down, and you draw. Cannot turn the head. How will it look like? and then write on top of your picture the word top. Just on top of the picture the word top. Tell me how you're feeling now. Do you feel comfortable? Okay. Are you done? Okay. Now, take out the other picture that you drew earlier. Turn it around. Turn your upside down picture right side up and compare. Is it exactly the same? This is your original. This was like that just now. Okay. Then this one was like this. So the picture is laterally inverted. This one going this way, that one going this way. Okay. Whose one has the same direction when you reversed it? Yours also laterally inverted. Anyone with the same direction? Okay. Can you see? Your C. This one like that, and then this one was like that. This one was, same. This one opposite. Okay. Yours is, no, turn it the same way around. So that you can see. Okay. So those who got the same direction have got high spatial intelligence. Same direction, you know what I mean? Who drew the same direction? That means when you turn it upside down, the other way around, they're all the same way, you know? Not one like that and then the other one like that. Are you get what I'm trying to say? So this is how you test. This is how. One way. This is not the only way. This is how you also test, what do you call that? Unusual what class? Unusual visualization. That's called spatial, more like spatial. It's more like spatial intelligence. Not all creative people, because creative people are different types. The architects very good at this one. They can visualize whichever way you turn. Very good. When they tell you, you're like, but they can tell that is correct. When they draw architect, are you lucky? Anybody wants to become architect, you must get correct. Otherwise, you draw the dog, put the dog in the wrong direction. Okay? So, usually architects are car designers, and so on. Anything to do with furniture, they're very good at spatial intelligence. Okay, internal visualization is another characteristic of creative people, and so on and so forth. Internal visualization means the ability to see what is inside a machine, inside the body. Okay, that's called internal visualization. Let's say I'm planning a room, an apartment. I'm an architect. I want to plan an apartment. Okay, I must visualize in my mind the ability to visualize how big the bathroom must be, so that it's convenient for the person staying there. Where to place the bed, where to place the table, blah blah blah. So they can internally visualize it. So creative people has got this one, the ability to internally visualize stuff. So these are many areas. The other one is extending and breaking boundaries. Very important characteristics of creative children. They don't limit them. You see, you give them a handphone, which is supposed to maybe access website, blah blah blah. The next day you notice some children are already programming applications using the handphone, programming, breaking boundaries, using something for a purpose not meant for. It is not meant for them, but they use it for that purpose. Breaking boundary. You know what I'm saying? They use it for something more sophisticated than that. Breaking boundaries. So these are various examples of creative thinking. Yeah. Okay, and so on and so forth. Humor, very important as well. Making jokes. How many of you have teachers who are very, when they teach, everybody is enjoying the class because of jokes. Now, not all the whole day joke. Never learned the whole day joke. But they, now and then, it's very funny. Those are very good creative teachers because they make the class fun. Have fun in the class. Humorous. And some students, when they say something is very funny, that's a sign of creativity. And normally you find you go to the lower class. They're not A class, B class, or C class. The F class, G class, or whatever. When they feel creative, you go there, they talk very funny. They can crack jokes very easily. Okay, richness of imagery. When they draw, just now the details, also a sign of creativity. Colorful. They ask you to draw. And fantasy. You can ask them to fantasize, like, for example, how will your handphone look like in future? How will your handphone look like in future? They say in future you don't have to carry handphone. You wear the handphone. In future, you wear the handphone. Hello. Okay, you want to talk to anybody, just tell me. Okay. Okay, so that's an example of, I think we should take a break. Okay, let's take a short break and then when we come back, we start creative teaching. So all this while this morning, we looked at the basic idea of creativity so that now we know what to do in the classroom. Alright? Okay, let's take a short break. Have something to eat. Or rather, you have already eaten. Never mind. Just about 5 minutes or so. Take a break, toilet break. In terms of what we mean by creativity, because that basic understanding of creativity is very important so that we can incorporate it in our creative teaching. Okay? So, how many of us are not here yet? Two, Vanessa and her friend. Anybody else? There's one more person here. Yes, very good. I think this is our class. Anyway, let's now move on to creative teaching. What do you mean by creative teaching? Okay, now before we start, what do you mean by creative teaching? I just want you to try. Do you have a half piece of paper there? On, yes. The question on what do you mean by creative teaching? Or what is creative teaching? Can you write down your own definition of what you mean by creative teaching? What do you think is creative teaching? From your experience? Just write down any idea that comes to your mind, maybe from our discussion this morning, from your experience as a teacher, lecturer. now let's see. How many of you still need some more time? Great. Okay, 1 more minute. Okay. Anyone is finished? Okay. You want to try yours? Yeah? What do you think about creative teaching?
Yeah.
You can use the microphone. Yes.
In my opinion, creative teaching is the process of teaching that lead the students to think critical and solve the problem in different ways. And another one, creative teaching is the teacher can make a culture of innovation. Yes.
Okay. So you notice there are 2 answers there. One is the process of teaching. Process of coming up with ideas to teach, how to teach. Process. Is it the thinking process or the teaching process? Both. Both. Okay. So her definition belongs to process. So process is another way of looking at it. Right? Some people look at creative teaching as the process of teaching.
Yes.
Creatively,
Yes.
uniquely, that comes from the thinking process. How can I teach this content effectively? So they design a strategy to teach them. So it is the process, thinking process. And then secondly, we got another point there, second point.
Second point is
The second sentence.
the teacher can make a culture of innovation.
Correct. So her definition of creativity for culture is this one. Press. Press here means environment. Create a culture. So in her class, she created a culture by asking, can you give me your own answer, not necessarily from the textbook? Think of a new answer. Okay? Or when you can, how else? What else? Where else? You know? That means the answer is not in the textbook. It can be coming from your own thinking. So she created a culture. Culture here means can be environment, where students can think of anything, not necessarily the textbook or the syllabus. Okay? So some people say creative teaching is also about culture. So your definition of 2 points, process and press. Press means what? Anything that affects your teaching. One is the teacher herself create the class, the culture of thinking new ideas. So the classic culture. Do you think your culture in your teaching was like that in your classroom? You create a culture. Another lecturer may come into the same classroom and create another culture. Cannot give me any other answer, only the textbook answer. So different teacher will have different culture. You know what I'm saying? Okay. So culture can be created by the teacher. One can also be created by your principal. How you say principal in Thailand? Also principal, headmaster, headmistress, or we call it principal, right? In school. In school, it's principal. The principal also say, you must make sure you teach and your students must get A. That means you only follow the textbook and the exam syllabus. But if the principal said, never mind, use your own creativity, enhance their thinking, get them to think freely, then the principal will create a different culture. So culture can be changed by the teacher or the principal. And this one will affect the teacher's teaching. So we call it press. We press on the teacher. You know what I'm saying? Affect the teacher's teaching. So that's why we call it press. Environment. Environment. You want to try yours? What is your definition of creativity or creative teaching?
In my opinion, I think creative teaching is the teaching that doesn't same the old traditional or all teaching before. I give an example like role play in class or learning from problem or question or take many activities in class or active learning, something like brainstorm or group working.
Okay. So here idea of creative teaching is also basically on process. How you, the process of teaching process, using role play, brainstorming. That means using creative techniques. That comes under the process of teaching. You want to try yours?
In my idea, I thinking about the outcome of the
Teaching.
The teaching.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that's a good perspective. A creative teacher will produce creative students. Outcome is a creative student. So that comes under product. So you define creative teaching not on the process part, not only on the press part. You also talk about what? The product. What type of product you are producing? Are you producing creative students or not? There are many ways you can produce creative students. How you teach creatively, you set creative activities, you create a creative culture. Correct. All can produce creative students. That's very good. So it's the product. You're looking at creative teaching as a product. You look at it as process and press. You look at it in terms of process also. Okay. Now under product, there's another one. The material used in the teaching. Very creative. The teacher created the material. Wow. The student also never saw this before. Or no other lecturer used that same method. This is the only lecturer used that method. You know, the material, the very unique. That is also a product. A creative teacher usually uses a creative product. Every time the student comes up, a new product. I never knew. Or another lecturer look at his teacher. Wow, I never knew they can teach using that product. You know what I'm saying? So something new. So we can also consider product as the material used in the teaching. Material used in the teaching. Very unique and effective. Not only unique, must be effective. Must effective in what? Teaching the topic. Let's say you want to teach, let's say in physics you want to teach density of the air. Okay? The material that you use must of course teach the concept of density of the air. You know what I'm saying? So very creative way of finding the density of the air. Okay? Something like that. How new? You never follow the textbook. The textbook say, you must, to find out the density of the air, you must do this. The teacher said, no, I want to use a different method. You know what I'm saying? More effective. That's a creative teacher. You see what? Product. Product can also mean the resources used in the classroom. Can be the product of your students. The product that you produce. Anybody else? You want to teach your version of creative teaching?
I think creative teaching should be the process of the teaching that how to make the student think about how and why, and the outcome of the answer may be different answer but in the same
Can solve the problem. Yes. There are two answers there. There is process of teaching that create the product which is relevant, that is acceptable. That's creative teaching. How you teach. At the same time, your process of the product must be useful. Okay, as you were saying, value has a value. What else you were saying? Something one thing. How you teach and then
make the student think about how and why.
So same thing as how and why. That means make the student become more creative, right? Same answer as this. That means your product is not only the material used in the classroom, it is the product of your teaching. whether the student become more creative. Okay, so that is looking at creativity. Which one we didn't talk about? We talked about process finish, press finish, right? Product finish. Which one we didn't talk about? Nobody gave me any person definition. You want to try? You're a student, maybe you think of your creative teacher. You want to try?
Maybe teachers use various instructional materials, methods, and perform as facilitators to allow students to learn happily and effectively with a great deal of chance to show their abilities as much as possible.
That is looking at what? Product, right? Using various materials. Okay, looking at product. Why some lecturers use various different products? Why some lecturers use only the product recommended in the textbook? Why? Why some lecturers use many different products, think of many different ways? The other lecturer only use what is recommended in the textbook. You know what I mean? Whereas other lecturers use their own resources. Why? Why?
Laziness.
Lazy? Why? Some lecturer only use the textbook. Okay, do exercise 1 to 5 or 1 to 50.
They don't want to think how much more.
Okay, why? Person, correct? It is the person. Some lecturers' personality. Some lecturers' personality is like that. Oh, I don't use the same boring textbook. Some lecturers feel that it's boring, you know. This textbook, the student can learn on their own. Why should I use the textbook? You know what I'm saying? Yeah.
Because every school and until to every classroom, the students is different. Background, the basic knowledge is different. So if all the school use the same textbook, maybe it's not useful.
Yeah,
It's
that's
about
okay.
the
That is right.
Yeah.
That's good. Some lecturers realize that and they don't use the textbook that closely. They adapt and adopt to the classroom. Okay, so that kind of lecturer is very open-minded, very adventurous. Adventurous, you know, adventurous. Want to try new ways. I tried this one last year already, I want to try again. I want to try a new method. Some lecturers like that. Want to try new ideas. Why don't we change this way? Last year I tried already that method. Now I want to try and improve it. Last year I used the activity as assignment. Now I want to change this year different activity. Why? Because the lecturer is very adventurous. So the first personality of the lecturer, creative lecturer, is what? Very adventurous. New method, never tried before, but want to try. That means the lecturer is risk taker. You know risk taker? Risk taker. I take risk. Never mind. If I fail, never mind. I'll change. I'll make it better. A creative lecturer is a risk taker. If you don't take risk, how you know it's working or not? Correct or not? Okay? Just like businessmen. You don't open a business. You have to take risk. Do I know whether I'll be successful? I don't know until I try. Correct or not? So, the creative lecturer is the same. I take risk. I want to try this method. See if it works or not. Oh, never mind. It doesn't work. Okay, I must change what now? What do I change? You know what I'm saying? So, adventurous, risk taker, inquisitive. Inquisitive one means what? The lecturer also tell, I don't know the answer. Let's go and find out. You know, the lecturer also don't know the answer. Tell the student, come, let's go and find out. That means you learn together with the student. So the student also feels, okay, lecturer does, it's okay if the lecturer don't know the answer. You know, so the students also feel, okay, there's not much of a difference, you know. The lecturer also wants to learn. You know, especially new technology, new information. Sometimes the creative lecturer pretend you don't know. You know what I mean? Pretend. You know the answer but never tell, you know. Okay, let's come to and find out how's the answer. You know what I'm saying? That's even creative. Okay, the student also, okay, the lecturer learned with me. together. We discover something. Let's try this, let's try that, change this one, change that. You know what I mean? So they learn together. So the friendship. Another characteristic of creative lecturer, personality, very friendly. The lecturer very friendly. Have you heard that the lecturer is very friendly? Yeah? We noticed afterwards, you see Talisas from the research about creative lecturers, very friendly. Especially in Thailand, they call the lecturer by nickname also, right? Is it true? Yeah? You call, so in Malaysia, no, it's very rude. In Malaysia, you don't call the lecturer pay. You know, all the short name, you can, that's very rude. You must say Dr. Ananda. You cannot say Ananda. Then nobody call me like that. Okay? So, I don't know. In all classrooms, the students call the lecturers by nicknames. Is it true? Why not other classes? Why? The lecturer say, don't call me my nickname. Is it true? No. Is it true? Some lecturers don't like you calling nickname. But in her study, all creative lecturers that she went and interviewed, all used the students call them by nickname. And it's okay. So what happens to the distance between the student and lecturer? It's not so much of a difference. Very friendly.
Punish.
So they partnership even. See, that's not very common, but not in Malaysia. I don't know about China. Can you call the teacher by nickname?
Usually, primary school and secondary school.
Cannot.
Yeah, but in the university, if we are very close teacher, and the teacher will call nickname.
I'll call the student nickname.
Yes.
But the student will the student call the teacher by a nickname?
No. Can.
They can?
Yeah. No, I am the teacher, Miss Wang, Miss Zhang,
Must use the miss.
sister or brother.
Oh, sister. Can call the lecturer as sister or brother.
Yes. It's very open.
Okay. In the United States, they can call John, the professor, they can call John. You know, they don't say Prof, Dr. John. But Asian culture like Malaysia, very rare. They have to call me professor. You know? So the Asian culture, according to research, they try to maintain a distance, but they're trying to break that. Okay? So creative lecturers allow students to call them nickname. Of course, not the bad nickname. Must be nickname that the teacher agrees to. Okay, so what is it? Friendliness. Okay, so we have now looked at creative teachers in 4 different angles. Yeah. So if you look at the model that we created from our research, we found that creative teaching can be looked at from 4 different angles. One is the the process. Remember, we talked about the process of thinking up new ideas, new strategies, and how you implement, how you use the new strategy. Like for example, role playing, brainstorming. They use different methods. Sometimes they create a new product and use it in a different way. Okay. After Dr. Chinese, I'll give you some real examples. Okay. Process. Then creative teaching can also be seen as the lecturer themselves, the teacher themselves have got a personality. Always trying to use something new, friendly, humorous. The teacher is humorous. Come to class only, joke. Everybody also like the teacher because the teacher jokes in the class. Yeah, not very strict. Never smile one. The student also very frightened to ask questions. Okay, have you had teachers like that, very strict? No smiling one.
I think both.
You got it? You have both. Okay, that's some.
They feel the stress and they.
You like which class? The teacher very strict?
No.
Okay, smiling one.
It made me. I'm very scared.
Scared?
Yeah. The question I want to ask, but I.
Dare not ask.
Yeah.
Okay. So that is one example of the personality of the teacher. Friendly, as Lisa will also explain on research, where the students call them by nicknames and so on. So they make it very close, the relationship very close. Friendly, humorous, adventurous, risk takers, trying new ideas, and also creative teaching can also be considered as the press. Okay, press here meaning the teacher creates a culture in the classroom whereby students can generate new ideas. They don't stick to the textbook. They can come up with their new ideas either from research on the internet using Wi-Fi or whatever. And press can also mean the school culture. You know the school culture? The headmaster allows the students, teachers, to take the student, go to the planetarium, to the beach, to the museum to learn, go to the ancient temple to learn about culture. The headmaster said, go. But some headmasters said, cannot study in the classroom. Follow the textbook. Press meaning the environment, okay? Culture by the teacher, culture by the headmaster, okay? That will enhance their creativity of the teacher, facilitate the teacher's creative teaching. That we call the press. And then the next one is the product. Now, product here means the resources the lecturer uses. He's a risk taker. Last year he used this one, it didn't work. So this year he used something else. You know what I mean? Create a new product. Get something. Yeah? New way of teaching. Product. So the creative lecturer uses new products. And moreover, product can also mean what is the result of the creative teaching. So it can also mean how what type of creative students you are producing. Product. End result. Product here refers to what? The end. The result of your teaching. Okay? So can you look at that? This is the model that we found. So when we look at creative teaching in the research, some lecturers focus more on this one. And in their teaching, we notice originality. Remember we learned originality this morning? In terms of the strategy they use, in terms of the product they come up with, product originality. Can you see product? Can also be original. The product that they use in the teaching, you know, the resources, the audio visual aids, the video clip. If they use video clip, the way they use the video clip, the way they use also different. Yeah. And flexibility. Okay. And sometimes the product, the student is the product, become very flexible because the teacher teaches them like that. Get them to teach, always think of different ideas. So the student become very flexible. The student become very elaborative. You ask them anything, last time they only give one answer. This time, the title of a few answers. Because the lecturer tells them to do that. Whenever you give an answer, think of as many answers as possible. Because the lecturer always asks, how else? What else? So they always ask the teaching students to think some more. Don't just be satisfied with one answer. You know what I'm saying? So they also become like that. The student also, they end up thinking that way. Okay? And elaborative. Getting the students to think of adding more new ideas to whatever idea they come up with. Okay? So, creative teaching can be looked at all these four dimensions. We call it dimensions, yeah? Okay? So when you think of your own way to teach creatively, you have a general idea what you are doing. Am I addressing the press part, environment part? Am I addressing the person part? Am I being friendly? Am I making the students very comfortable in my class? You know? So when you know the model, then you think, oh, okay, I must improve on that. You know what I'm saying? Am I getting the students to think in original ideas or not? Process. How can I make the method I'm using more effective? Change a bit. change a bit. I add a little bit more. So I become more elaborative. I add a bit more idea to the original idea. Last year I used that idea, right? This year I make it a little bit more different. So I'm being elaborative. I add more idea. You know what I'm saying? So once you know about this one, you yourself can become more creative. But if you don't really look at this one, you think what you're doing is okay. You know? So you don't realize it that you won't improve and you won't know where to improve. Okay? So that's the reason why we came up with this model. So do share this idea with your friends. Okay? When you chat during over tea or dinner or while in the bus, tell your friends, hey, look at the creative teaching. And we call it the 4 P's. Huh? The 4 P's. Process, person, product, and press. The 4 P. Remember the 4 P of creative teaching? Okay. So some people are there, some creative teachers are stronger in the person. Very spontaneous now. Another characteristic of creative teacher is spontaneity. They just come to class with very brief outline. Sometimes don't even have these because they're so experienced. Have you seen some lecturers come to class nothing, no notes, freehand, and then they start drawing picture, they develop the picture, and then the students are very captivated. You know what I mean? Because the story developing, it's a developing story. It's not every day the same. So the students look forward. Oh, the teacher is coming. Hey, on Monday always his class. I must go to school because Monday is the class of the teacher, creative teacher. So they choose to go to school only on the days the teacher teach. Other days if there's a very boring teacher, I don't want to go to class. You know. So creative teacher can actually enhance the students' attendance in class lectures. Okay, so remember the 4 P's. Okay, the 4 P's. Okay, another way of thinking about creative teaching is looking at this one. 2 aspects of it. Remember we said just now, teaching creatively and teaching what? Creativity. So when you talk about process, you're talking about teaching creatively. When you talk about product, you're teaching creativity. That means the product. We want the student to be more creative. You want the product that I use, my teaching aid, to be more creative. Also, product. So, can you look at the picture here? Okay? Teaching creatively here. You look at the picture here. This is the teacher here. Not very clear. This is the small kids. Look, what happened here? The teacher is trying to, is so friendly with the student. The teacher wants to give a five. High five. You know high five? High five, they say high five. You see? And the teachers go down. Can you see the teacher go down to the level of the small kid? Close. Right? Build up the rapport. So the student also feel very comfortable with the teacher. Okay? So this is another method of teaching creatively. And then this one, the teacher is taking the kids outside the classroom, going to explore. A lot of dead leaves here, you know, outside the school. You see, they're exploring the environment, creative teaching. Yeah, learning not from textbook, learning from real life. Last time someone was saying, I think the student, one of the creative lecturers in Anissa, to see, yeah? You're going to say something about that? Of course you're going to say.
She takes a student to see the ocean environment, see the sea life, and then she actually lectured in the water. Everybody have a class in water. And they dive, scuba diving, pick up some trashes in the beach and learn how to protect environment.
All in one. We heard about the fish, also environment. Yeah. Okay, so that is also another way of creative teaching, authentic. Another aspect of creative teaching is using real life examples like that one. After we also noticed one of the lecturer for teaching English, she asked the students to go to Chancery Square and interview the foreigners in English to improve their proficiency. Okay, that's real life example. Okay, so these are things that we're going to see up close, but we can still do it. And look at the teaching in this classroom. Are they sitting at a table or chair? No. Free for all. The kids just sit there with their iPad, and then they just explore information. And then they come up with something, they display, and then look, collaborative learning, right? And then discovery learning. So all these are strategies for teaching creatively. Yeah, teaching creatively. And teaching creativity meaning teaching for creativity. So this happens at the same time as this one. Let's say, for example, exploring. They learn how to explore. Independent learning. Yeah. So in other words, these are quite overlap. Not exactly the same, but they overlap. If you do this, this can happen. If you do this, this can happen. The teachers, the students can become more creative, more original, more independent, more exploratory, explore more information, explore themselves. You don't need a teacher. Independent. Don't need a teacher next time. I can do it myself. Right? You see? So this is how the different aspects that you can incorporate once you become, once you know what it is. Then when you plan your teaching, you know what to do, and you know what you're doing. Yeah, and you can improve some aspects of it. So, in fact, I've covered all this already. Okay, just for a rough overview. Process. When we talk about process here, we are actually talking about generating original ideas for thinking, combining with the syllabus, the textbook knowledge. It's important, not important. Not that you throw away a textbook completely. Okay, because textbook is only the basic information, so content is important. But how you deliver it in original ways is important. And then how you design activities, authentic. Authentic means what? What do you mean by authentic? Anyone? Authentic means what? Real life. Real life. Let's say for English, the teacher wants them to learn how to write letters and how to write a formal letter. Okay, of course the teacher will teach, okay, formal letter, you must put the address here, the date here, dear, whatever, blah, 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 paragraph, number 1, 2, 3, blah, blah, blah. Okay, now, write a letter to your town council. You know, write a letter to your real life, town council. Why you never collect my rubbish around my house? You know what I'm saying? So you can write a letter to whoever, real life, come think of a problem. Write a letter to your minister asking, how can you improve the transport now, jam? Road him, how can you reduce the traffic jam? Okay, write a letter, give your suggestion on how to reduce the traffic. Okay, Facebook. Can you use Facebook in your teaching? How many of you use Facebook teaching? Very useful. Very fast you can spread information. You want to give your students any information, instant one, every student. At a split second they all get information. Okay, so Facebook, YouTube, very good resources. Some of your lectures you can, now you're recording my lecture now, you can put YouTube for it. Okay, so those are processes. Remember I talked about cognitive dissonance. Remember there's not cognitive dissonance. How to create a cognitive dissonance? Now, it's a high quality level of teaching, where the teacher created an activity where the students get puzzled. If you can make your student puzzled, you succeed already as a teacher. Can you make an activity in your classroom where the students become puzzled? How? You're good. You're a very good teacher. Yes. If the student got no